Welcome to Ethereum Cat Herders meeting 118. We have on agenda items such as Ethereum network upgrades. We will talk about what's going on with Ethereum's latest upgrade, TenCon. There are other protocol development and research updates, followed by events, fellowship, hackathon. There are a few initiatives and a team discussion point that we would like to take it today, maybe get some resolution, maybe get some solution for how we want to proceed with that. Then there would be general updates. But before we get into our usual agenda item, we are joined by a team to maybe provide a demo under the section called Ecosystem Project Demo. Let me welcome Ben from Team Gelato. Welcome, Ben.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me. I'll be giving a quick presentation followed by a demo.
Awesome. The floor is all yours, Ben. Please go ahead with the presentation and the demo. If we get some time, we will perhaps take some question answer at the end of this presentation.
Perfect, thank you. So today we're going to be covering signless transactions powered by our relay service called Gelato Relay. First of all, a quick introduction to Gelato. For those of you who are not familiar, Gelato is Web3's decentralized backend, empowering builders to augment their smart contracts to create reliable, user-friendly, and scalable Web3 apps without sacrificing decentralization and censorship resistance. So traditionally, when developers sort of first start out, it seems like all we really need is a front end, and then we need some smart contracts on chain, and that's sort of all we need. That is our decentralized backend. But as applications scale, a lot of them find they need sort of extended functionality or additional infrastructure in order to power the variety of use cases. And this is sort of where Gelato comes in. We offer 3 services. The first one being an automation service, which allows developers to execute smart contracts automatically when certain criteria is met. So this could be, like rent payments, which happen every month, or it could be liquidating users when their health factor goes below a certain threshold. We also offer a relay service, which simply allows you to execute transactions or to put transactions on chain in a gasless manner, and we abstract away some of the complexity there. So block reorgs or failed transactions, also pricing the transactions correctly, etc. And the final thing is Web3 functions, which is sort of similar to Automate, but a bit more powerful, since you can also access off-chain data and execute smart contract functions based on that off-chain data. And finally, the other piece you might have in your sort of back-end stack puzzle is some data storage solution, like, for example, IPFS. It's actually worth noting that our Web3 functions, they're written in TypeScript, and that TypeScript, the source code, is deployed on IPFS. So it's decentralized and it's immutable. The agenda for this sort of quick presentation is to briefly cover Gelato Relay, then discuss some account abstraction, then discuss a safe session module, which allows the signless trading, and then just giving a very quick demo at the end. So Gelato Relay enables gasless transactions on all major EVM compatible networks. First of all, sort of more broadly, what is a relayer? By definition, to relay means to receive some information and then subsequently pass it on. Sort of in the context of Web3, this means we have an EOA executing a transaction on someone else's behalf. So the EOA is receiving the transaction, and then it is passing it on or putting it on chain. More specifically, what is Gelato Relay? Gelato Relay is simply a decentralized network of these relayers, also known as executors, and it can be considered a sort of marketplace bringing together 2 parties. The first being developers wanting to relay users' transactions, and the second party being infrastructure operators, which execute these transactions in exchange for a small fee. Now, relaying has some interesting implications. The first being that the relayer incurs the gas fee and not the user, since it is the relayer who is putting the transaction on chain. And this is actually a really nice thing because it gives the user having their transaction relayed unlimited freedom in how they want to handle the payments. So transactions can, for example, now be self-paying using any sort of tokenized asset, for example, USDC, other ERC20 tokens like ERC721 as well, like NFTs we could support. All the transaction can be sponsored. So a project can set up a balance on our service called OneBalance, and it can decide to, for example, sponsor users NFT mints to offer sort of this like frictionless onboarding. The main point sort of being that the user is no longer restricted to paying in native tokens and also no longer restricted to paying at the time of execution. So we have these sort of deferred payments, which gives us a lot of freedom and opens up some really cool use cases. Here's a quick flow diagram of a sort of gasless NFT mint using a safe. So this is a bit of account abstraction, which I'll sort of elaborate on later. Let's imagine we have some EOA. So this is sort of the owner of the safe. In the case that we're using ECDSA, for example. This wallet has no Ethereum, so it can't actually transact. But what it can do is it can build, for example, a mint transaction, and it can sign this transaction using its private key. This transaction can then be sent to Gelato, to our executor service, our relay service, using our relay SDK. It makes it super easy. And then one of our executors, we have this sort of decentralized network of executors, will pick up this transaction and then subsequently put it on-chain. So here we move from the off-chain world to the on-chain world. This we'll call the safe contract, and this can do sort of arbitrary signature verification, whatever logic it wants to perform. And then it can forward this mint transaction to, for example, an NFT contract, which then mints the NFT to the safe. So this is a really nice sort of flow, but you may have noticed that for sort of each transaction we want to execute, we have to sign the transaction. And this is sort of a pop-up on MetaMask if we're using MetaMask or whatever wallet we're using. So ideally, rather than signing each individual transaction, we'd like to instead sign sort of one intent, which creates a temporary session that has an expiry. And this session is associated with a certain public key, and that public key is derived from a private key that we generate on the front end of our application. And this temporary wallet then signs all subsequent transactions. And it can also support multiple concurrent sessions on, for example, multiple devices. So if we have, like an exchange, we can sign intent to say we want to trade for 1 hour now, and all of the subsequent transactions will be signless. So we don't need to have all these MetaMask pop-ups for every individual trade we make. Same goes for like sort of gaming applications, where each interaction doesn't have to be a MetaMask pop-up, but sort of removes some of the immersion that the user would otherwise have. What we can also do with the Sinus module is we can define very strict whitelists. So we can say that we only want certain methods to be executed through our safe. This is sort of a security thing. And we can have sort of whatever criteria we want to. And finally, we want to be able to execute transactions as long as the session is valid and as long as it satisfies this criteria. So for example, the whitelist, but it could be other things as well. Why are we using safes in the first place, or account abstraction? The nice thing is that we essentially have these on-chain wallets, which are fully programmable. And because they're fully programmable, they can have arbitrary verification logic. So we can have ECDSA signers, so traditional EOAs like MetaMask, but we can also support native social login. We can also support session keys, sort of what we're covering today. But we could even have like biometric login, sort of fingerprints or Face ID, whatever we want really. We also have native atomic multi-operations, so we can approve spending of a token and then have it spent by a contract or within one transaction. It doesn't have to be 2 separate transactions. We also have semi-abstracted nonces. So we have these concurrent execution channels where we can, execute one transaction sort of parallel. And we also have gasless transactions, which allow us to either sponsor transactions or pay using ERC20 tokens. And the super nice thing is that this is out of the box compatible with all existing smart contracts because we're using message sender. This is sort of in contrast to trying to relay transactions using an EOA where we have to use a standard like ERC2771. So how this works is we introduce a safe module. We just call it like a session safe module. It's essentially just a singleton safe module, which manages all sessions for all safes that are using it. So all we have to do is deploy the singleton. This is done by us, so the user doesn't have to do this. And then all the user has to do is enable the module on their safe. And the way the interface for the safe module looks, we have essentially all the features I sort of outlined here. We can create sessions. Using a session key, we can specify duration and also the public key of this sort of temporary wallet we've generated in our client. We can also whitelist transactions. So we can have this like very specific criteria, what we want to allow to execute. We can say we only want certain tokens to be able to be transferred from our safe, etc. We can obviously also remove this whitelist if we no longer want the transaction to be executable. And finally, we can execute transactions given a session ID, which we've created up here, and given the transaction itself. So just to visualize the flow a bit, we have a safe. Well, step one is to, on the safe, enable this Gelato safe module. So on our safe, we enable this safe module here. The second step is that the safe whitelists our target contract or transaction in the Gelato safe. So we go to our safe, this is step two, and we whitelist this. On the safe module, we whitelist certain transactions that we want executable. On an NFT contract, this would, for example, be a mint transaction. In step three, we actually create our session. So again, we go through our safe, and that calls into our Gelato safe module, which then creates the session. And finally, step four, when we actually want to execute a transaction, we can use this temporary session key, and we can relay a sponsored call using Gelato Relay directly to our Gelato safe module. And this is whitelisted by the safe, so it can execute on behalf of the safe and then call the target contract to, for example, mint an NFT. And yeah, now for a quick demonstration. In this case, we're not minting an NFT, but rather we're just incrementing a counter, just a super simple sort of showcase. And yeah, we created like a small UI for it. Yeah, so we can connect our MetaMask. First, I'll demonstrate a non-sinus transaction, so just a regular transaction. This is still being relayed, so it is gasless. So when I press trade, this will increment the counter. But first, it will ask for a pop-up on our MetaMask, and this will ask for a signature. So this is sort of what I was talking about earlier. We have a signature pop-up every time we want to do this. We sign the signature. Again, it's being relayed, so the gas is sponsored on our behalf. And this just takes a second. And if we refresh the counter, we should see it's incremented. Yeah. And if we do this again, I won't actually execute it again, but if we do it again, there'll just be another pop-up. And if you imagine this is an NFT game, that sort of takes you out of the immersion because the MetaMask is popping up the whole time. So what we can do is we can enable the sinus module. And this will ask for sort of one signature, but the signature is only required once. And then we can, for example, press this trade button for the next hour and it won't keep asking for pop-ups. So just take 1 second. I think Gurley may be a little slow at the moment. Let me try it again 1 second. Okay. I think it was just an issue with the actual RPC. I think it was taking a second. Anyway, now sinus is enabled. We can press trade. And this time around, there's no MetaMask pop-up. So it's all just happening in the background. The message has been signed with the sort of wallet that we've created, and it's stored in our browser temporarily. Yep, so the count is incremented. I can hit it again, no pop-up. And this will be the case for the next, sort of n minutes. I think it's 60 in this case, so 1 hour, but it's sort of completely configurable. And you could have completely different criteria. It doesn't have to be based on time. It could be based on something completely different. Yep, and the count is now 6. So yeah, just to wrap up, quick recap of the other services. So this was Gelato Relay. The other service we offer is the Automate service, which allows you to do on-chain automation, essentially performing any arbitrary computation without requiring user interaction. So like I said, liquidations, paying rent, limit orders, etc. And then we have Web3 functions, which is like sort of Automate on steroids. It's written in TypeScript, stored on IPFS, and then run by Gelato. And these allow us to bridge the gap between multiple chains. So By default, you have these RPC providers, which you can just natively use within this Web3 function. And it also bridges the gap between the on and off-chain worlds. So we can use this to push, for example, price oracle data on-chain, and that's what we do for Pyth, for example. And all these services can be self-paying or sponsored using this universal paymaster we have, which is called One Balance. And that works across all services and also all networks. Yeah, thank you very much for listening. That's all for now. If you want to check us out, website is gelato.network. We also have a Discord, a great developer community if you want to check that out. This is the invite link. Our Twitter handle is Gelato Network, and my Twitter handle is Ben Price with a V at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ben, for this great presentation. It was really interesting to learn something new going on in the ecosystem. I see we have questions in chat. Paresh, if you would like to maybe read the question for the guest.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I just wanted to understand if you could also do like a manual revoke on a safe, or is it always time bound? Sorry,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, so just the first question, that's absolutely something you could implement in the module itself. Of course, in the safe, you could always unwhitelist this module. So you're sort of trusting this module, but if you want, you can always remove the whitelist, or you can implement some custom logic for extra verification. So it doesn't have to be time-based. You could have a manual thing to allow you to revoke sessions, for example, like you mentioned, yeah. All possible.
Cool.
And that's, it's sort of just, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
I was just going to say it's possible because you can essentially implement anything you want. That's sort of the super nice thing about account abstraction, that we have everything is like fully programmable. So
yeah, that's awesome. And the second question was, is a safe created per smart contract a user wants to interact with, or is there a single safe for like interacting with multiple functions?
yeah, so it would be a single safe, and then you can interact. It sort of replaces your EOA in a way. You still have this sort of owning EOA in the case of safes. Obviously, with like ERC 4337, where we have like native account abstraction, you no longer need the EOA. But the idea is that you have like one smart contract wallet, and that allows you to interact with all existing smart contracts sort of out of the box. But you get these like nice properties, which is that you can sort of have these custom like signature validation schemes, and you can basically program anything you want. So you can have like rent payments every month, etc. Also worth noting on the UI, if you don't already have a safe, it will automatically create a safe for you. And that's part of this like account abstraction SDK that we offer. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I see there is another question in the chat. Joshua, if you would like to read it for the guest.
Sure, I was just elaborating on what you had just said, but my understanding was that the safe can be replaced with any smart contract wallet in this setup. Is that correct?
Yep, exactly. And there's so many out there, so you can really just sort of pick and choose, even create your own if you want. The idea with Safe is obviously that you can use Safe as sort of this like smart contract account kernel, and then you can extend it with these modules. But obviously you can just create your own as well. Yeah.
Okay. I did have another question. So I think gas deference and signless transactions with account abstraction are absolutely huge for Ethereum and for any EVM compatible blockchain. I'm curious how Gelato thinks about the security model for like its end users and how they approach security in this new paradigm, and also how Gelato thinks about security internally and like its own code and audits and things like that.
Yep, great question. So all our code is obviously audited, not just the smart contracts, but also this sort of backend that we have. And the idea of Gelato is it's not just this sort of single point of failure relay system, but rather sort of Gelato's bread and butter is this like decentralized network of executors, which powers all of these services. And we're sort of moving, we have multiple executors already in our network, but we're moving towards making that like fully permissionless so that anyone can sort of contribute. So it essentially emulates like a blockchain.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question with respect to EIP. You mentioned about account abstraction, but we also noticed that there are some certain features which also allows to not pay native token. So which is the EIP being used here? Is it EIP 4337, 3074, or anything else?
So this is not 4337. It's not native account abstraction sort of. Instead, in this case, we're using One Balance, which is a sort of paymaster in this case. It's an off-chain paymaster. And we're actually working currently on getting that integrated with 4337. But obviously you could use 437 and have this sort of on-chain paymaster, which can accept ERC20 tokens, or also sponsored transactions. So it's sort of like it's a different way of doing the same thing in a way. But yeah, it's not 437. Yeah.
Right. I'm aware that 3074 perhaps provide this facility to pay it in any other token rather than the native token. So you may take a look at that proposal, or in any case, if you guys are trying to come up with a new EIP, we would always welcome something new in the Ethereum ecosystem. Next point I wanted to mention here was about the use cases. So you talked about gasless NFT mint, like that is a really good use case here. Like there are so many people involved in NFT. Have you recently seen any other use case those are being used on Gelato network by any other users or implementers of it?
Yeah, we see really cool use cases. I don't have like a list or anything prepared, but we had yeah, some really cool ones. NFT minting, yeah, NFTs are pretty huge. Gaming is also sort of starting to take off, so that's really big. And there's also a lot of throughput there. And obviously both of these, you really want a really nice onboarding experience because we're trying to onboard like Web 2. So having gasless transactions is sort of essential there. Also lots of exchanges, we're sort of focusing on DEXs a lot. Also very high volume, obviously, and it would be nice not to have to pay gas there as well. So the sky is sort of the limit, though. I mean, most protocols I think could benefit from, or most dApps could benefit from gasless transactions.
Absolutely. And onboarding Web2 community is one of the biggest use cases, I can say that. So definitely kudos for that. The other thing, during the demonstration, you mentioned about using the Garley network. I was just wondering, have you guys considered switching to Sepolia network? I know Halsky is not ready yet, but these are going to be the public testnet, which would be available or maintained by Ethereum developers for a long time.
I think so, yeah, absolutely. The testing is super important to us. Yeah, I also think Gurley is sort of a bit outdated at this point, so I think we're definitely considering switching. Yeah, it should be a really nice sort of testing setup where you can test everything sort of on testnet and then deploy in mainnet and should have exactly the same behavior. So yeah, we're considering other test networks as well. It's worth noting that we don't just support Gurley, but also like Mumbai if you want to test on sort of the Polygon testnet and sort of all the other testnets for these big chains. Yeah.
That is awesome. So Garley is going to be replaced by Halsky. We are expecting its launch somewhere this month, like by the end of September. Once that is like ready, we can perhaps recommend you to switching on to Halsky. But in the meantime, Sepolia is another test network which is publicly available for testing dApps.
Super cool. Yeah, thank you.
All right. I think I'm done with the list of questions. I wonder if anyone else has any other question for you. Very well. Thank you so much, Ben, for this presentation here. It was really interesting to learn about another project in the ecosystem that may be useful for many normal user, many Web2 user, and people who are looking into creating projects, making smart contracts with the help of Gelato network. We wish you all the best. Thank you so much for taking out time to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, thank you for all the questions.
Let's move ahead. For Ethereum Cat Herders meeting 118, the first item on the agenda here is Ethereum network upgrade. As we know, we have now received 2 new EIPs for Dencun upgrade. Those are EIP 7514, and the proposal is about add max epoch activation churn limit. Here the target churn is 8. And the another proposal that has been added is related. It's called EIP 7516 blob base fee opcode. This makes us to have 9 proposals on Dencun upgrade. As I was mentioning about Halsky launch date has been moved to September 28. We are hoping to have its genesis on September 28. However, we are hoping to upgrade this testnet to Chapella, which was the last upgrade of Ethereum network, somewhere on Epoch 256, which is expected around September 29. Please check out the link added to the agenda for the GitHub repository of Halsky to get more details about its launch time and the specs available. Last week, there was a bug detected in Geth. Because of that, was affected by block construction bug. The team has released Geth v1.13.1 hotfix. This would be fixing the block production issues among other similar issues. The incident highlighted Ethereum's unique strength of client diversity. The chain ran smoothly despite the issue. And I have added here a Twitter thread thanking to various client implementation team and their trade-offs of running different clients here. For Cancun and Deneb upgrade, we have added respective GitHub repository to follow the latest specs on execution and consensus layer. Last week, we had Dencon interop testing call. Check out the recording for meeting 31. This is an extension to EIP 4844. Earlier, most of the testing was based on EIP 4844, but now that we are close to launching to the public testnet, we are hoping to have all the EIPs included for testing. People can follow this testing call, which happens every other Monday. For reference, we have added EIP 4844 readiness checklist, which shares where we are with EIP 4844. For people to know, EIP 4844 is the anchor EIP for Dencon upgrade. We will certainly be added by more EIPs. And I think we have added the list of all those EIPs in the useful resources section. So for Dencon upgrade, we have been talking to authors to understand these proposals. Here is a list on the agenda of all the EIPs that we have collected information so far. Please check out the link for individual talk. We are hoping to have authors for EIP 7516 and EIP 7514, which are recently added. We'll try to get them on the call and will make available the recording for the community. There is this very good blog post by Terence on navigating Ethereum's 2024 consensus. Here he's talking about the technical depth point of where we are with respect to consensus layer. Ben Edgington, a developer of Teku, also said that clients are constantly sprinting for 5 years, almost 5 years. We can say that because the launch was formally in 2020, December. So it's really been exhausting, and they believe that the consensus layer team could use a little breather here. There are multiple things aligned for Ethereum's roadmap. The next big thing could be the Verkle try, and this upgrade would be on the execution layer. And for consensus layer, nothing big particularly planned. However, this can be just housekeeping, cleaning up. Max EB is another thing that is being considered. However, we will learn more about what will be beyond Dencon in upcoming developers meeting. Not to forget, EOF is another big proposal that is expected with the execution layer in near future. So we have added a list of changes with respect to network upgrade Dencon. Please check out the link added to the agenda. I do not have a recording for EOF implementers meeting 23. I will check, and hopefully we'll have it soon. But the next EOF implementers meeting is planned for Wednesday, a week from today. On events, fellowship, and hackathon, as we know, Dev Connect is planned in November. ERC team are trying to have a session with Ethereum cat herders. I have added a HackMD for details of what we are planning right now. This is being led by our ERC editor, Victor. The program name is going to be ERC at DevConnect, and our goal is to kind of foster a collaborative environment where ERC authors and dApp builders can learn from each other. We are still finalizing the events, but on a high level, you should expect some technical sharing and feedback loop for ERCs. We are working with the team to secure a room, a venue at Istanbul. And yeah, we will be providing more information with a blog post on Ethereum Cat Herders Medium. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, please check out to this HackMD to get some overview of what we are going to do there. If you have any thoughts, suggestion, please reach out to us on Ethereum Cat Herders Discord. You can reach out to me or you can reach out to Victor directly to share your thoughts and ideas. There is another event coming up in India, which is called ETH India, that is planned in the month of December. It would be from 8 to 10 December. I remember someone in the group wanted to have something planned for ETH India. I'm not sure if there is anything that they would like to share it right away, but yeah, it would be really nice to have something planned there if we have representatives.
Yeah, we will check if one of us can represent the folks who are in Bangalore, in India, especially to share some swags or talk about ECH if there is an opportunity. So we'll figure it out. Maybe in the next ECH meeting, we'll have more details on this.
Sounds good. It's interesting to have contributors all over the world. We will try to make to the events wherever possible. And yeah, we have a lot of contributors from India, so it would be really nice to have representation in ETH India, which is one of the biggest events organized in India. Moving on, the next one is a new initiative, association, and team discussion section. I think the first item here is about Twitter blue check. Right now, Ethereum Cat Herders Twitter is not a paid version of that, but I suppose Santosh has certain ideas. Santosh, if you would like to share them, please.
Yeah, so I've added in the agenda as well, right? This is on the social media, right, Pooja? Sorry, I missed.
That is right, yes.
Okay, so a couple of them, like we'll try to be super engaged in the Twitter forum platform, basically like sharing at least 1 to 2 tweets every day, and also retweeting a lot of community discussions which is happening around Ethereum. So that is one. And also we'll try to have a lot of meetings, Q&As being tweeted, so that we are able to gain more engagement from the community. And also, Pooja, I would request if we can have a paid plan of Twitter, that would be really great, so that we'll not have a limitation of the character limits right now, which we face.
I find that a good idea, in sense like a Twitter blue check will provide us a lot of facility. We can, make longer tweets, as Santosh mentioned, and apart from that, it will give an impression of being what do you call it, like trusted and the one. Although it is kind of vague line over there, but just wondering if anyone has any objection on that or have different thoughts that we should not go ahead with the idea. I mean, yeah. All right. It seems like no one is objecting, not at least in this meeting, so we can have that thing done. I'll work with Santosh on that, and we will try to get the blue check done.
Thank you.
The next one is ecosystem project demo. So far, we have 5 projects demoed, including today's. Please check out the playlist added to the agenda for earlier projects demo if you have missed it. And I would like to take this opportunity to maybe reach out to all dApp developers or projects in the Ethereum ecosystem. If you would like to let community know about your project, we welcome you to join us on Tuesday's meeting, and maybe you can share about your project, give a brief presentation, demo, how does it work, and be in our Discord. So if there are any further questions in future, may be able to respond to them. We encourage people to check out the DApp channel, is it? I'm just trying to make sure. Yes, it's the DApps channel at Ethereum Cat Herders. You can share about your project on the channel and yeah, take questions from the community if there are any. The next one is create a video series. I do not see Ziki on the call. Maybe we'll take it up in the next meeting. Moving forward, we have contributors who send weekly tweets. We just received an update from Santosh that it's ongoing right now. So that's a good thing to have. I think I missed adding here. Okay, Meet the Herders. So Meet the Herder is a new program, a new initiative by Hresh Gedia. I would like to invite him to maybe talk about it and where we are on that.
Hey, so good news is we have one episode with Pooja, and I will be recording the second episode with Victor and on the 28th. So at least for the month of October, I think we should be covered, given the cadence we are looking at is once every 2 weeks. And I will also be reaching out to new members. I'm going to schedule one with William, and I need to get more heads in to interview. So Pooja or someone else might need to give a reach out or nudge to some prominent members down the line. But yeah, I'm looking forward to have it edited. I'm working on a text version for it, and we should be publishing it shortly. I'm happy to take any questions on that.
That's awesome. I think we should include more of the active members as well as some of the ephemeral members who have contributed or may have helped founded this Ethereum Cat Herders group. It would be really nice to hear from them how they feel about the group and from the current members as well, their motivation for contribution. We want to build a community, and I believe coming directly from the contributors will help us grow this community. And we are currently working on some of the images, video editing things in the background. But hopefully we should be ready with the first episode real soon. And for people to know, this is going to be in 3 different forms. It will be available in the text form, the interview, in a video form, as well as on the podcast at Ethereum Cat Herders Podcast. All right. At this point, we welcome any new ideas for community engagement if people may have. I mean, I would love to see comments to the agenda. If people have any new idea, please feel free to add them in upcoming meetings comments so we can add that in agenda and maybe able to collect some thoughts from people or the group we are having it here. So yeah, we can discuss it there. The next one is general updates and discussion. We have added stats as well as our active social media link. You can follow us on Twitter, join Discord, follow our YouTube channel, LinkedIn. And we would love for you to share this information. More people we have in our community, that will help us increase the reach of content we are sharing with people. Most of our contents are related to Ethereum upgrade, network upgrade, and EIPs. So it will be really good to build a community where we can engage more people into protocol development. Talking about protocol development, as I mentioned in the earlier meetings, that we are working towards having an Ethereum protocol women contributors group. Anyone out listening to this call, if interested in joining that group and may be able to help us contribute to any specific client, the language of their choice, or Ethereum testing and any other thing, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to put you in touch with the set of right people, right group who can help you mentor and help you contribute to the Ethereum protocol development. On ECH engineering, I remember having a pull request last week. George, if you have any updates on website, Cat Herders website?
Yeah. So when it comes to the website, added a couple new EIPs to the Denkun page. It seems that there's always new EIPs that are changing in that inclusion list. So added the two most recent ones. One that actually needs to be removed now that I forgot to do. And there'll be some more updates coming up as well in terms of updating the network upgrades page, and also creating the new Peep Neep page, which the design for that is pretty beautiful. So
It's really funny, but I think this is not that happens usually with Ethereum network upgrade. We try to avoid having EIPs added when we are very close to public testnet. But this happened because those proposals were like really trivial. Client teams were comfortable adding them, and we hope to get that updated on the website. One thing I think we missed in yesterday's call was about Halsky network. I am not sure if we have provided any information about Halsky, so it would be really good idea to have some information made available there.
should I include that in the Denkun page, or should I put that somewhere else?
No, it could be in the Denkun page where we are adding all the DevNets update. I think we are there till DevNet 9. I mean, at least with the specs of DevNet 9, we can perhaps add the page for Halsky where people can follow. And if we get any particular spec HackMD available, we will add that too.
Okay, I'll include that to the to-do list then.
Right. And you can find some basic information on the Halsky testnet, the link added to the agenda, which was included in item number 1. Moving on. Okay, yeah. As George was mentioning about the proposed design for a PeepNE page, we are hoping to, okay, there's a question in the chat. I don't think we have created it yet. But yes, George, can we maybe take it into consideration?
Yeah, that'll be in the next PR then.
All right. Yes, that was on our agenda. We were discussing that in the website meeting, but that's a very interesting fun fact, Joshua. According to him, Denkun is now tied with Byzantium for the most EIPs included in the Ethereum update. That's nice to know. All right, people may take a look at the proposed design for PeepNE. If they have any suggestion, feel free to share it with us. There is a website channel on Ethereum Cat Herders Discord where they can share their ideas. The next section is about ECH operations. We are sharing YouTube updates on community playlist. People can find short videos over there. And I am not sure we are having this item on agenda about splitting the ECH meeting video to create a general community update video and share it with the community. Do we still want to go ahead with that, Santosh, or you think we can perhaps cover it with tweet section?
We can cover it with tweets. Maybe we can remove this.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think we are already making a lot of messages going out via tweet. Last week, we saw the EIP meeting highlight. That was good to have. We can perhaps share this kind of general community update with tweet, as well as we'll try to cover some of them in the newsletter. On ECH podcast, I think we are covered till the recording shared on PeepNE. Here is the link added to Ethereum Cat Herders podcast for all the video recorded for Peep, and hopefully with the Meet the Herders series in future, we'll try to have an audio version for you available on podcast. There are multiple platforms. Please check out the page, and whatever is your favorite platform, you can follow our recordings on a podcast, the Ethereum Cat Herders podcast. Moving on to the EIPS Insight and EIPS Insight website. As I can see, there are 20 new drafts added in the month of September. We are almost towards the end of the month, but we have received a huge number of proposals in draft. 20 is quite big. We have 12 proposals for review and 11 in last call. There are 6 proposals which have been promoted to final status, and 60 EIPs/ERCs have been moved to stagnant. This is because of inactivity for over 2 months or so. I would highly recommend the 2 authors to stay around. If you have questions or concerns with your EIP, you are invited to join us on the EIP Editing Office Hour, which we hold every other Tuesday. Like this Tuesday, we have Cat Headers meeting, and the next Tuesday, we will have the EIP Editing Office Hour. You can find information on EIP IP GitHub issue section, or you can check out our event section on Ethereum Cat Herders Discord. Please reach out to us if you have any PR, add them to the comment to the agenda, and we'll be happy to discuss. We are joined by EIP editor Sam Wilson to answer questions if you have any. But please stick around to move your proposal. Do not let them move to stagnant status. On Penny, we have recently released an episode on EIP 5656. And in future, we have planned EIP 7514 add max epoch churn limit with DApp Lion on October 3rd. We are hoping to learn more about Halsky testnet with Paritosh, Barnabe, and Afri on October 11th. This would be weeks after the launch of Halsky. So we are hoping to get some information shared by the team, how community can join, how testing team can join, how people who want to participate as a validator for this testnet may be able to join. We expect to have some resources around that. So please mark the calendar, October 11th at 18:30 UTC. EUF is a set of proposals which we may be expecting in Prague upgrade, which would be right after the Dencon upgrade. And we would love to start learning about these proposals. So the first meeting with Dano Farane on October 17th is planned to learn what is EOF and what are the proposals related to that. There are a bunch of proposals which are currently in draft status. We hope to get some finalization on that, like which version we will be getting into. We can follow most of the conversation related to EOF on EOF implementers meeting that happens every other Wednesday. That's on PPEN's EAP schedule. You can follow the link to the agenda where you can find future meetings. On meeting notes and action item, it seems like we have notes for all the meetings here. We have meeting for all core dev execution, notes 170, all core dev consensus, notes 118, EIP meeting 90. And we do have EIP editing office hour meeting 25, recording and agenda up for meeting 26. For meeting 26, if you have any open pull request, you want any feedback of editor, you have any questions, why is it not being merged or anything related to that, please join us on the next office hour. That pretty much concludes all the items listed for today. I wonder if people have any other item thoughts that they would like to share and bring up for this meeting or maybe for the future meeting. Very well. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope to see you all around on Discord channel and in the next meeting 2 weeks from now. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Good job.